Welcome back, everybody. Today I'm going to be making some more Headless Horseman artwork for my Sleepy Hollow themed living room decor. And I thought I would revisit one of the projects I did a couple of years ago, which I'll put a link to down below if you're interested. But basically we made this sort of rustic silhouette of a witch. This is when I did a literary witch themed living room. And I basically took a witch silhouette and some book pages, Mod Podged them on here, just so it gives it, again, that sort of literary theme, and made this sort of rustic looking, reminded me of kind of a witch's hut sort of frame for it. And I put this on my mantle, and I really loved the way it looked. And I thought, when I made it, I wanted to keep it sort of transitional, I guess, so that I could use it in future projects. So I never mounted my witch silhouette to it, which is great because now I'm going to do a Headless Horseman silhouette to put on it. But first I thought I was going to change my frame up a little bit. Now, if you want to know just quickly how I did my frame, I just went to the Home Depot and I bought some of this barn wood, and I just cut it to size and glued it together with hot glue. And you may be thinking, hot glue, is that really going to hold it? Yes, it will. I actually wasn't thrilled with the way some of these boards lined up, and I tried to fix that, and that was not happening. I could not get them to even break apart. The seal was that strong. But I've decided, instead of putting it on my mantle this year, that I was going to hang it on a wall. So we're going to have to make a little bit of an adjustment. Now, I did not, on this previous project, put anything to hold them together aside from that the glue. But now I have made some, I took some furring strips from Home Depot. These happen to be leftovers from another project, which are a little bit different sizes, but that's fine because they're close enough. And I'm going to just put them on the back of this frame so that I can attach some hangers and hang this up on the wall. So to do that, I pulled out some 1-inch drywall screws. By pulled out, I mean I went into Home Depot today and I purchased them. So let's go ahead and screw these on and see how well that holds. I figured I'm not going to do anything exact. I'm just going to kind of eyeball it. And hopefully, I think these screws are going to be just long enough, because these strips are 3/4 of an inch, so it's just going to go in just enough to hold it together, hold it on the wood really, and it'll do a little bit of assistance helping hold the wood pieces together. But let's go ahead and screw this in, see what happens. All right, so there's one. That couldn't have been easier. So I'm just going to screw one into each piece of the board. There we go. So I think that is very strong now. Not going to worry about it falling off the wall, but we still have to hang it on the wall. So I figured I would use some of these D-ring hangers. I thought about putting just a regular picture hook hanger on there, but I kind of wanted something a little bit stronger. So I figured with a couple of these, I could either hang it on 2 different hooks, or I could just run a piece of wire across it and hang it that way. 2. Okay, now I have a method to hang my board on the wall. All I need now is something to put on it. A nice silhouette of the Headless Horseman. So to do this, I just went online and I found a silhouette that I liked, and all I did was get someone who knows graphic design to plug it into their Adobe Illustrator, blow it up to the size that I need, and I just made sure that it was going to fit on a piece of poster board, just barely, which will give me a nice little outline on my board there. I think the last time I did this, when I did this with the witch, I cut out each little page before taping them together, and I'm realizing I should have done that this time. It might have made it just a little bit easier to manage, but it is what it is, so let's just see what we can do. There we go. All right. Have my Headless Horseman silhouette. I didn't cut out the eyes, or the whole jack-o'-lantern face, I should say, because I think I'm going to actually color that in with a marker after I finish it, because think you're not going to see that too well if it doesn't really stand out. So with my stencil done, I am ready to trace it onto my piece of poster board. All right, there we go. I'm sure you can barely make that out. There we go. Not too bad. And it's going to be a bit of a challenge to cut out, though. I don't think my scissors here are going to do it. So I got my razor blade and my utility knife and my cutting board. Tip for you, don't hot glue on your cutting board because this hot glue does not want to come off. But with that PSA out of the way, let me get this cut out. So there we go. I've got my silhouette done. It was a bit of a challenge, especially with the little bits like the horse mane. That was tough cutting. And you can see it's very ragged around the edges, but when I go ahead and Mod Podge some paper to it, I'm going to be wrapping it around the edge. So it's really going to cover up all of that and kind of smooth it out a little bit. So I'm not too worried about that yet. And then I'm hoping where there might be any little bit of imperfections, we can use the paper to fudge it up. With our silhouette all cut out, it is time to turn it into the literary masterpiece such as our witch was a couple of years ago. Now, when I did this one, I only Mod Podged pages on one side, and that causes a significant bow. I think because when it dried, it kind of shrunk maybe a little bit or pulled it tighter, causing it to misshape, and I don't want that to happen, so I'm probably going to do both sides of my silhouette this time. And to do that, I just went to the Dollar Tree and bought a book, a nice thick book. And picking the book is kind of important because I wanted to have kind of an aged paper effect like my witch was. When I did my witch, I bought an old dictionary at the Goodwill and it was perfect, but I have no idea what I've done with that since, so I just got the Dollar Tree book, which is actually cheaper than getting a Goodwill book anyway. So I've gone ahead and ripped up some pages. All I did was just literally ripped out a page. I kind of tore off all the sides because I don't want any straight edges, and then just kind of ripped it into various sizes. No rhyme or reason, some big, some small. Again, just keeping so that there are no straight edges. And I think we are ready to go. Pulled out my Mod Podge. I am going to take a foam brush that I got, stick it in the Mod Podge. Where should we start? Let's start with the pumpkin at the top. I'm just going to give it a nice brush on the top. And then we'll just start sticking on paper. Again, no rhyme or reason. Once you put down one piece, it might be a good idea just to go ahead and brush over it with the Mod Podge a little bit more so that any pieces that overlap it are just going to stick right on top of it. This is going to dry clear, so you're not going to see it anyway. But I've gone ahead and got a couple of pieces on there now. One piece you may notice here on the edge is overlapping, so I'm just going to brush some Mod Podge on there and see what we can do just to wrap it around. And that's going to help with that edge. We're going to disguise some of this roughness from cutting out this piece of poster board. So I'm just going to keep on brushing. Every time I put one down, put another piece, make sure it overlaps, brush it, and continue. You do want to work somewhat quickly to get this all on here before it dries. And I'm just going to keep working my way until I have gone all the way around. I'm not going to lie, this thing took me so long to do. It took about 5 hours of gluing, which was a lot longer than it took me to do my witch. And I think that's primarily because it has so many of these little intricate bits of hair flowing in the wind, and there's lots of small areas to work around, lots of corners. It just took forever, but it's done, and I like the way it looks. I kind of did the back. I stopped when I had to work around this area up here. And it's definitely not as pretty on the back, but I don't care. No one's ever going to see it. But I don't know if that helped keep it nice and flat. But I also, as I let it dry, I put a weight on top of it to keep it flat. So I'm hoping it's not going to get this little bit of curl that my witch had. Anyway, a couple of tips I learned. I think when I started out, you know, I put a layer of glue down and then started putting the paper on it. That was a mistake. I didn't need to do that. I just put glue on the backs of the paper, put it on, and just kept layering it on. The glue on the back of the paper was enough to hold it down. And then once everything was down, I did a layer of glue on top just to kind of seal it all in. I also was very careful in how I ripped the pages out of the book because I didn't want to have a lot of white space. So I was kind of taking each page and ripping out sections of like big paragraphs where it's just all full text, so you don't see any big chunks of white as you're looking around. And I made sure to keep all the edges irregular so that there's nothing straight that's going to kind of stick out. I mean, there might be a little bit here and there, but overall, I think it kind of blends pretty nicely. And the only thing left to do is add the face. I had originally thought I was going to take my original stencil and trace it. I was going to cut it out, trace it on here, and I thought that's just kind of crazy. Instead of doing that, I would just print it onto a piece of black construction paper that we have here. Now I'm going to cut out the eyes and the mouth and the nose. And then just as I've been doing with the paper, we're going to Mod Podge it into place, which I think will make it so much easier, and it's going to help me out since I'm not that artistic. Not bad. I definitely think this looks better than anything I could have done. So now I'm just going to take my Mod Podge, put a little glue on the pieces. I'll start with the mouth here. Just give it a nice good bit of glue on the back. Pop it into place. Excellent. All right. Try the eyes. Put another layer of glue on the top, just to kind of seal it all down and in. And this glue is going to dry clear like the rest of it has. You are not going to see it, but it will help keep that paper protected. There we go. The glue's not quite dry, but I'm a little too excited. I'm going to go ahead and adhere my silhouette to the board. I want to keep this reusable, as I did with my witch silhouette, so I don't want to permanently mount this to the board. And I'm not sure if these little glue dots I'm going to use are going to hold it in place. I'm going to use as many of them as I can, but I suppose if that doesn't work, I will resort to some hot glue, and then that should certainly keep it in place. But these little glue dots are very sticky, and I find that they're pretty removable. So I'm going to put these all over the back of my silhouette here. Put this down because, like I said, the glue's not quite dry right there. So I'm going to put glue dots all along the back. We'll press it down onto the board and see how it sticks. I have lost count as to how many of these I put on here. Some went much better than others. Some of them are just like little globs of sticky tape on there, but let's go ahead and press it onto the boards and see if it sticks. I'm gonna just kind of center it along. I kind of like the idea of having my head right there in between those boards. And I think that looks like it's about centered. It might be a little high. A little higher is better than a little too low, I think. So there we go. Let's go ahead and press it down. Hope it sticks, because that was a lot of work putting all those little stickers on. I think it's gonna stick. I think. Again, backup plan. We can always hot glue it a little bit later if it doesn't. All right. There we go, my Headless Horseman artwork. I like the rustic nature of the boards. Kind of reminds me of a barn where you'd see a horse, and then of course my literary theme with all my pages for the silhouette there. Again, I hope it stays, because if it falls and it breaks, I might cry with all the hours it took putting this in. Stay tuned to the end of the video and I'll show you what it looks like on the wall. But thanks for sticking with me on this project. Can't wait to work on some more with you as we get closer to Halloween. So make sure you stay tuned and are subscribed and you hit that bell notification and all that jazz. But that'll do it for today. So thanks for watching, guys. Stay safe, take care, happy haunting.